We good to go? All right, hey, thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, so we're going to just talk about just stuff, about videos that we worked on or ideas we have, games, movies, whatever. We'll take some questions at the end. I think we'll have time for maybe, let's say, 10 questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand and they'll find you, and then they'll work it out. So yeah, you can just raise your hands now, and they'll go around and they'll get back to you at the end.
And then keep them raised until the end, so we know. So.
Oh yeah, leave your hand up the entire time.
That's a great idea. It's like a challenge.
Yeah, that's right. See who is the most dedicated.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing, so don't worry.
If you want to ask a question.
Yeah, don't worry, it won't be that long. Somebody was just talking to me here, right here, about Guar, because I just saw Guar last night. Yeah, Guar's cool. On my way over, though, the tickets got shredded in a lawnmower, and I had to go find the pieces of them. They were behind the counter at a McDonald's. I had to go around the back and put a rat in the fryer, and, hey, I got to see the show. We're going to talk about the most recent nerd episode, The Immortal. Did you see that one? Awesome, yeah. So I figured if we're going to do any kind of behind-the-scenes talk about that, we should do it now, I guess, because it's fresh in our minds. So this is fresh off of the episode. This is the first time we're talking about it in public, so we might as well just talk a little bit about what went on into making it. So the Nerd Immortal episode, it began with me wanting to do a single take project of some kind. It was very much inspired by Rope. Alfred Hitchcock made this movie called Rope, 1948, and it was very theatrical, where it was just kind of like one single run of the camera. But with Hitchcock, he had to cut every 12 minutes. This episode's 12 minutes anyway, but he had to, because the film camera could only hold 12 minutes of film. There was also a really ambitious shot at the beginning of Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. That was in the 50s. And that one also had, it was just an opening scene, but it was this really impressive shot. And that was actually a lot more impressive the way it was executed, because the camera moves around, it crosses a street. At one time, it's like following somebody in a car. So if you've never seen it, go check out the beginning of Touch of Evil. There's also a movie that was done in one take called Russian Ark. It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Of course, there was an Academy Award winner with Michael Keaton, Birdman, and that movie had the idea of, we're going to do this in one take, but it's stitched together by many, many takes. It's not really one take. Yeah. But the interesting idea with that one was they decided that being one take doesn't necessarily mean it has to be in real time. So there's actually like time lapses and stuff, but it keeps it continuous. But if you've seen Birdman, you know what I mean. Michael Keaton's awesome in that.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah, then there was another movie which we talked about in Monster Madness recently. It was one of the Coffin Joe movies by Jose Mojica Marins. That was a Brazilian horror film called At Midnight, I'll Take Your Soul.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say that I said it right. Yeah, that's right. Because the sequel is This Night, I'll Possess Your Corpse. So I sometimes mess those up. Yeah, so that was in the 60s. And there's this one, 5-minute shot in it where the main character, Coffin Joe, he's screaming, and he's just he's all alone, but he goes in this big monologue. And I was like, how funny would that be if I did that as the nerd? But it was all about a bad video game. So I always had that in the back of my head. Lots of time went on, many years. I didn't get to do it because I never really figured out, well, what's the best game for that? Because it would be kind of hard to show the game while doing that. So I thought of all different ways it could work. I was like, well, maybe the camera kind of goes to the game on the screen, and then it comes back to the nerd on the couch, and it just pans back. And I was like, I don't know, that's not really interesting enough. So I kind of scrapped the idea for a while. And then I thought, oh, wow, no, actually, this could be done if I pick a game that would work with it. It has to be a game that was simple enough. And we played this game I played a game with Mike called The Immortal on NES, and we did it as a James and Mike Monday video where it's just us playing it. And we had a really hard time with it, and a lot of that was because I think the instructions or the Nintendo Power magazine we were looking at wasn't really descriptive enough. It's a little bit of a cryptic game. It's actually a pretty good concept. I really like the idea of the Immortal, but it wasn't executed on the NES that well. I think it was probably a lot better on the PC because it was originally a PC game. There was a Genesis version, which was a lot better, had a lot of really gory fatalities. But yeah, the Nintendo version I think was just a port that suffered. But whatever the case, I thought it had just the right amount of material to construct a one take video out of. So I decided, I know how that is, by the way. I know exactly how that is. Yeah. Yeah, that's really where it started. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. But no, that was the idea. I think that's where you guys come in. So I came to you guys and was like, hey, if we can do the Immortal one take, and then you guys are probably like, you bastard.
Well, we were like, yeah, it was like, you said it to us like a month, like 2 months ago, or 3 months ago? I think it was like...
when did we shoot it? We shot it a little while
We shot
ago,
it like
yeah.
last month. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like...
early September 10th. I forgot.
And we were doing Monster Madness around the same time, so it made sense to utilize the same set.
Right.
Which actually, not to get off tangent, but if you notice, there's a little Easter egg in there where like their bodies are in the background of it.
Yeah.
Like that's the Monster Madness versions of us that got like hacked to pieces for some reason.
Yeah. One of the torsos is wearing my vest.
Yeah.
And,
I
think this shirt, this like actual
It's the
shirt
actual
too,
shirt, yeah.
No, because I know when we were planning this year's, like or 2019's videos last year, the Immortal was on there because we wanted to do like another good, decent NES game, but we didn't know what to do with it for a while. And you're like, oh, we'll do the one take thing, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah. So the first thought of how it went was I don't want it to lose the game review part. I don't want it to just be like just a performance piece. It should also have the game review in it. So the idea was show the game all the way through the take, and that was just like I was thinking, how are we going to do this? So we had 4 video screens total. The first screen, I'm actually playing it. Now that is probably the hardest. One of the hardest things I've ever done because I have to review the game while I'm playing it, and I had to hit all the right points. So I had to actually repeat the same playthrough every single time we did the take because there was a certain amount of points. I wanted there to always be commentary. I didn't want there to be any like long pauses of dead silence. So I made sure I kept doing different runs of the game and figured out what was the best route to take to comment on like the pits or the monsters that come out of the floor, the bait that kills you, the goblin fight sequence, the bats that come out of nowhere, and all that type of stuff. So I sort of just rehearsed a playthrough and just did that over and over again. But that's something that's never really been done in a nerd episode. It's kind of been done a few times, like the Power Glove episode. It was really me playing in front of the screen, but that was more improvised. That didn't have a script. Or Power Glove had very little script. Also, how much playing can you really do with the Power Glove? Like it wasn't a very like in-depth kind of thing. Immortal I had to actually play, and if I were to die at some time in the game, I would actually lose the playthrough because if you die 3 times, it starts at the beginning, and that would have been just enough time for the dead air to happen, where there wasn't time to like talk about stuff or what I mean. Like I had to do it perfectly each time.
There was the one take that where like you died and then
Yeah.
you had to like you just started rambling because the whole thing got thrown off, and it was like,
Yeah.
and I was the goblin, so I'm just in the shower waiting, like, because I had to sit in the shower in the back. And once that happened, I was like, oh, James must have died where he wasn't supposed to. And I'm gonna be in here for another 10 minutes or so.
It was a very funny sight just to see Kieran in a skin-tight goblin costume in a dark bathroom, just waiting for his cue to come out.
There were a few times where I fell asleep too because you can't you can't see through the costume, and it's dark in the bathroom. So pretty much it's like having your eyes closed while your eyes are open. It's like a feeling I've never felt before. And, I just started a few times like nodding off, and then I would hear like dysentery, and I'm like, okay, I gotta jump.
Exactly.
And, I would just like jump up.
The cue was dysentery.
Once he says
that's right. So you're not only in a skin-tight goblin costume, sitting alone in the dark bathroom, you're also waiting for the word dysentery.
Yeah, once I hear dysentery, then I know get up, don't trip, because there's a little thing in front of me.
And not just that, you also have to wait for another cue because you're the one that was running the video on the projector as well.
Yeah,
You know what?
so
let's go in order, actually. Now
let's-
that I'm thinking about it, because I was going to like talk about each of the screens, but we'll get to that. Like, so first thing starts off, I come through the door. And I remember when that started off and I had that hood on, I felt like I was actually like kind of nervous because like I'm going to mess up this take or something. And as I was in there with the hood, I kind of felt like a boxer getting ready to come out into the ring or something. I'm just thinking like, I wonder if that's what that's like at all. Like, oh, it's showtime. It's time to come out. And a lot of times I would mess it up right off the bat. I would come out and like one of the first lines I'd screw up or something. But once you got going, like I know once I got to the game part, then it was like, okay, this is the point of no return. Just keep going. You got to get through the whole thing. One of the first thing that happened was that I had to take the NES cartridge and put it in the system. Now here's the tricky thing. We started with the top loader NES. I thought that was the best way. It's the actual one I use in the videos. A lot of people remember the Nintoaster, but that's actually a lot before. Yeah. Which was awesome, but I mean the Nintoaster died. Yeah, I mean it's not completely dead, but it's kind of like the screen's glitching and stuff. But that was a long time ago. For a while, many years now, I've been using the top loader. So anyway, that was the actual top loader I use in every other episode in recent history, and I thought it was best because you can see the game sticking up. Anyway, that's how we started. Now to begin with, you know how when you take an NES cartridge out, you put it back in, it might not start up again. You gotta, clean it again or whatever, or make sure that it connects right. So I just knew from the beginning this is gonna be a disaster. Like, what if this thing does not turn on when we start this? So what I decided, we had 2 Immortal cartridges. So the first one, I pretend to put it in, but I'm actually dropping it into a little basket. So my hand is off camera, I'm just dropping the cartridge. And then the camera pulls back and then shows it inside the top loader. Well, we got that down. The next thing that happened, my top loader died in the middle of the take. That thing's existed since, like, I think they made the top loader in like the early 90s. So that thing's existed for that long.
You were fucking furious too.
Oh,
yeah,
I was.
I've seen you like mad as the nerd, but not mad as
No, it was
James.
like, it was a...
Which is way more scary. I was like, oh shit.
It was a crisis. Like, it was actually like a real big problem.
Yeah, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Right now, like this thing's been around for all these years and now it dies during this. And you know what? I knew it was gonna happen. It's like one of those things where you're like, oh, what if it dies while I'm filming? You think of those worst case scenarios, and then it did. Yeah. But luckily, we talked about that possibility. We prepared for it, and these guys brought an AVS. And so when that happened, we swapped it out for the AVS, which is what you see in the videos. And now I bought my own AVS, so now I'm going to be using that from now on.
Because surprisingly, like, James is the angry nerd, but he has one working Nintendo. And every other possible system, pretty much, but one working Nintendo, that was it.
I mean, I do have the classic, box shaped one, but
those are so finicky most of the time.
Very finicky, so that one, there's less chance of it working. So we got that part out of the way. So then I'm playing the game, and this is one of the funniest parts because I wouldn't remember what to say next. So when the camera rotates around, I'm holding that controller. You know what I'm doing? I flip the controller upside down, and I have like pages of notes on the back. So I'm not actually playing. I'm just paging through it with my thumbs and like reading the rest until I get to the dysentery line when the goblin shows up. Yeah. And I guess go ahead.
Because I remember picking it up and I was like, what's on the back of this? And I looked at it, it was just like flips of notes. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So, and I made sure to point it like this so I'm looking at the game. Because I knew certain parts in the video. It's like, okay, it's going to be obvious. You could probably tell there's like parts later on where I'm just reading off of a page. But a lot of it in the beginning, I was just doing it. Especially when I was playing the game, there's like really no other way. I did have notes for just about everything everywhere.
They
It
were
was just a
everywhere.
question of when did I need to use it. We get to the goblin part, and then you come out with the line, and then one of these takes, I'm supposed to pick up a cane.
Oh, yeah,
And then the
that's
cane
right.
was gone, and I didn't know where it was. It was laying somewhere, but that room was so dark.
Yeah, and I can't see anything while this is happening too, so
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I just
You're
hear
just
like
swinging?
I hear like things like because there's just stuff everywhere. So I hear like James going, "Oh, I need a cane. Oh, where's my cane?" And just stuff is going on, and I'm just standing there like, what's going on? I can't see anything. James is running all around. I can kind of see like a shadow, and I'm just kind of like.
Yeah.
So I guess we're done. I guess we start over now. Back to the shower.
Yeah, I tried to like ad-lib it, like I'm like, oh, I need a weapon. I need to find a weapon. I need to find a
And then
weapon.
it went a little too
Oh,
long.
and then I just
Yeah, and
lost
then
it.
where
Was
it was it was actually laying up against one of our like light stands, but it's the same exact like
Yeah.
it's just a black like cane.
Yeah.
That's like the same thickness as the legs for the light stand, so it just looked like part of the light stand, and that was it. So that was one take. The thing
Yeah.
was too like there were takes where like. Because from when you come in to when I come in is maybe about like 6 or 7 minutes, but that's only if the take goes 100% according to what it's supposed to. So there were stretches of time where I was sitting in that bathroom for like 30 minutes straight before I actually got to come out. So I would just pass out for a few minutes and nod off or zone out or whatever. And when I would finally come out, it was just. It would be, James would come up, we would have our fight, and I would fall to the ground. And then I would wait for James to like walk out while the camera's walking out. Then I get up, close the door, have to hastily unzip the costume, which
Yeah.
had always ripped almost all my hair out each time. Because I would just get hair caught all inside of it. And like at one point I just ripped the mask off and tore a chunk of my hair out.
Oh.
And because I had to get it off because I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Then I have to run over to the corner of the room and get ready to operate a projector
Yeah.
for the next for the projector scene. So I would have to run over, find the remote while James was into the next room.
Yeah.
And at one point I stepped on the fog machine by accident.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
And could not figure out how to turn
it
it,
was
off.
so loud.
And so it's just going, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh, I just ruined everything. I just ruined the first good take we had.
But actually, I don't even think, even if we used that take, I don't think it would have picked up as much because I'm wearing a lab, like I'm wearing a lab right now. So yeah, I mean, it's but when you have a lav clip, it's more direct. There's less of a chance you hear it. You might have heard it a little, but we didn't end up using that take anyway.
Because I think total there was 9 takes and
9
9 complete run-throughs,
takes,
yeah. But there
But
were
many
way
more.
more than 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shot about, I think it was almost like a full 8 hours we shot with a break in between of like 40 minutes. We ate some Wawa and then got back to it.
I remember I was like, had throat lozenges between every take just to keep my voice from going.
Because the one you see is the last take, which was the most complete. Because like some of the other takes might have been better from him because his voice was better, or he knew some of the stuff, like it worked better, or the camera didn't trip, or because there's a part where it shows like bones on the floor. It's because the camera just screwed up and just started filming the floor.
Yeah.
'Cause it was like a big rig that had like
we
camera
haven't,
operators.
we haven't talked about the rig yet. So we had this big rig that yeah. Yeah, so this was big rigs. This was yeah. That's all right. So I honestly would not use that type of rig again, but the thing was, this was something that none of us had ever done before with this long take. So the idea was that the rig would keep it smooth, because I mean the camera operator for us, like his arms would like fall off if he had to hold the camera the whole time, so he needed something.
Yeah, we did a test. If you watched rental reviews and you remember the one where Mr. Lobo comes in, Forrest is running the camera and he was doing a test if he can actually hold it, even for that, and it was like impossible. So even when you watch the Mr. Lobo thing on rental review, you can see the camera kind of jostling around a bit. It's because you just physically cannot hold the camera for like that long.
Yeah, for like 15 minutes straight, and then do it again right
Yeah.
after.
And again,
and it's not even, that's 15 minutes if the take goes right, not
But the,
if
but
Yeah,
the
so-
problem
you have to
is
reset.
when you have this big rig and you have thumb controls and the camera has to be perfectly balanced, which is a mess because of the cameras we
Yeah.
use. And
It has
you
like a
need
million like counterweights and like
Yeah.
it was a vest that you put on, had two big arms that came out with cables attached to the camera
which kept
rig,
smashing
were
into
like
the
this.
door frames of
Yeah,
the set.
which
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah,
and
yeah.
and he had Tom too. Tom was our other guy who is working a remote control that controls the camera's focus and lighting and the way it's pointing. So it's a two-person operation.
Yeah.
Tom's like 8 feet tall. Forrest is like probably like 5'9", but with the hooks on his back, he's like 8 feet tall.
It looks like a
And,
cyborg.
yeah, pretty much. Like it's like a robot suit.
Yeah, not just that, all the pieces talk to each other with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so if something goes wrong, the camera just dies.
Yeah, it like
So there's a lot of problems
And
with it.
and it's made to, when the camera balances itself, it's made to always be looking forward. So as you're moving around, it's always looking this way. So there was that one part when I crawl on the floor, and the camera has a problem looking down, and that last take when the camera when he tried to look down with it, it just all got screwy, and then it was like.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's a situation where he should have just let the camera operator behind him point to the ground, not moved his body like he naturally would mentally. So they overshot it, and then the camera had to like reset.
it stayed in
yeah.
one place. So the thing was like we didn't do it. There's no cuts or camera cuts or anything, but there are like pan and scan where we just move like the frame.
Well, we
And-
shot it extra wide, so if
Yeah.
you saw the raw shot, it is just like a wide.
Yeah,
you don't
and
wanna watch
It's
that.
huge.
Yeah.
It's actually like the aspect. I think it was like it's like 4,000 by 3,000. Something weird.
It's full frame 4K.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then so we were able to like zoom way into a piece of the frame that would take up an HD screen and like for instance the part when James is playing the games. We wanted to make sure you could see the full game and that it took up enough of the screen without us zooming all the way in, but also so you could see James. And that was like the full HD screen was like this much of the frame as opposed like it was like this. So the game was like we could close way into it.
Yeah, so you had to like do the double.
Yeah,
side
and
by
I did
side.
that. Yeah, I did that picture-in-picture edit because I wanted to be able to show that it was still there was no cut or anything.
Yeah, that's
In-
right.
But
Yeah, that's a good
I wanted to
idea,
keep
yeah.
both. But I was also been watching a lot of 24, and I was like watching them. I'm like,
do
you
they
know
do
what?
that a lot,
Yeah, they do
24?
that every time. Like more than 2 people are talking. They
okay.
they do this like picture-in-picture thing, and I've been like really obsessed with 24 lately because I've never watched it before. It's amazing. It's
cool.
If you've
think
never
in-
watched it, do yourself a favor.
I
Watch
think
it all.
in retrospect, we should have had you sit in like a bone chair or something, because then your face would have been on the same level as the game, rather than you standing. Because that was the trouble with the framing, is they had to get wide because they couldn't come in because you were so
Like
of different heights.
A bone throne.
Bone throne.
Yeah.
Bone throne.
So going through in order, I mean, we've kind of been jumping around a bit,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
we were at the goblin. That's okay. We were at the goblin part. The only other thing I wanted to talk about from the goblin was that the idea was to make it look stiff and awkward like the game.
Yeah, in the game.
Because I knew that he couldn't see anything in that suit anyway, and we
Yeah.
didn't want to risk like actually like
The
hitting
first,
each other.
the
Yeah.
first take we did, I think you smacked my knuckle
Oh,
or something.
yeah.
But it wasn't like hard, but it's like, you know,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
lightsaber fight your friends and somebody gets
Yeah.
hit in the hand and then you
And,
get mad at each other.
Yeah, yeah, and you never know about like the positioning of the angle. Like it might not. The fight choreography was a whole other element, so we were like, well, let's just do it like the game and make it real awkward. Like,
Yeah, just turn it.
it's
like,
kind of like in the other nerd videos. I've done that a lot, like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where Leatherface always gets stuck on those like little pieces of junk that are laying around in the game. So when we did the video,
Yeah, the
Leatherface is
tricycles.
running, and he can't. There's like a bike laying there, but he can't go around the bike. He just stands there and gets stuck. So it's something like that, where you're just kind of imitating the clunky nature of the game. I hope that was clear, that it came off that way. Did it look good? Okay. Because I remember, because I don't look at Twitter comments very often. I don't, because I don't have time. But I remember when I was tweeting about the Goblin thing, I think, and you replied to one where somebody was like, why did you guys not make any effort hitting?
Yeah,
like,
he was
and I'm like, oh no. I was like, I hope we made it clear. Like maybe if I would have said something earlier when I'm playing it, like, oh, and they move so clunky when they swing. Maybe then it
Yeah.
would have made it more clear, but if you
I
think
think
it
most
all
people got it,
worked,
like one guy
yeah,
didn't, but
most
you know.
people got it. Okay.
And then I just said, I was like, oh, we were just trying to do like the game. He was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
It was like, I guess he wanted us to like really choreograph like a full fight scene and stuff like that. Like,
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I've done that type of thing with like Crazy Castle and all that,
Yeah.
so I don't think it was necessary to, you know, it was more about just imitating the game. So then the next thing happens is I pick up the key when you're laying there, and I remember, I think there was some take where the key wasn't there because we didn't reset it, because I bring the key in through the door, and then we had a checklist going where it's like, okay, remember to move the key back to the first position, remember to move the cane back there, and every single thing had to be like reset in the same way. So then I go through the door, and we already mentioned that it was tough getting the camera gear through the doorway. Then we come into the room where the second screen is, and that's the Monster Madness set. It's the same thing. On that screen, it was actually, well, it was all pre-recorded, obviously, because it was like you were seeing edited footage. And this is kind of like where it's like an edited nerd review, except that I'm actually there talking next to it. We had to sync that all up. So when I say you get an amulet, the amulet had to show up on that screen right when I said it. And for the most part, we got it.
Yeah,
pretty good.
It took a few.
That was actually like the day before we shot. That was like one of the most prep things. Was James would read the script, and then I was sitting in the room because so the thing is the computer. The screen is out here on that wall. The computer is on the other side of the room. Yeah. So I had to stand there with Premiere Pro open with James reading it and edit the video so it hit James's beats, but I'm across the room on another side of a wall with Premiere Pro going like this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
With a keyboard on my lap as James was like talking, so it was like the worst editing setup that anyone could ever have.
You were facing a corner, there was a wall here, and you were leaning over.
And there was a giant spider right where I was. It was huge. It was like this big, like no joke. It was just like there, and I kept like making sure it was there at all times. And then it wasn't there at one point, and I was like, that thing is probably in the computer right now, like just living there.
Oh my god! And then it wasn't there. So we would do a take of it, and then he'd notice like, okay, well that part's running a little late. Like when you say that line. It's like we need a little more time for that shot. Yeah. So he would just edit it there on the spot between takes. Then he'd go back to being the goblin.
Yeah, it was like...
And then, so we would keep doing that. And that was when it became important to just follow the script. Like there was a choice between should I just play off the screen, but I'm not going to remember everything. I'm going to get it kind of messed up, like exactly what the lines are. So that was more just like, look at the script, read it. And even then, it's hard. I mean... Even if I was sitting here with a page just reading something, like, if you try reading a book out loud or anything, you'll fumble here and there. You won't get it like a perfect run unless you're like a really experienced like voice actor or someone who, with a lot of skill. And I'm not that skilled, so I would just have to rehearse again and again and again. But a lot of times my eyes would get lost. So even when I'm reading like cue cards.
No, because it's also in a dark ass room.
Yeah, it was dark, and also like. Yeah, I would read a line, but then if I'd look away for a second, I'd kind of lose my spot on it. So a lot of times, whenever I lost my spot, I would kind of fill it in with like just stuff off the top of my head. And there was a few times where I would like just skip a line, where I would accidentally like forget where I was, and I would just go to the next part, and we lost a couple lines. Not a big deal. It wasn't anything like really important, but. It didn't matter to get it perfect. We're like, okay, we're just trying to get a continuous take. Doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect.
Yeah, and not just that, you also had like all the cues, like when to start the fog machines and all that. Because when after you fight him, you say vomitorium. I hit a fog machine, and hopefully isn't loud.
Oh yeah. So I say vomitorium, and then you're in the spot where Kieran just was. Yeah. And that's where you start. So you had to push play on the screen right when I say vomitorium, and then the tape would sync up. The file, and then you also do the fog,
and then the screen on the floor, and then the light at the end with the like the dragonfire light. I hit you with that. So I'm like doing all these things and going down my checklist while you're going
basically
through it.
his parts are all coming up now.
Yeah.
And then we get to the screen in the middle, which I think you also sync.
On the floor.
Yeah. So it's like kind of in the middle of the room, but it's on the floor. And that's where I crawl over to it. And that was another one. So that had to sync too. and I think there was a line. I think like when I say electronic arts or something.
Yeah,
That's
more
when-
like, electronic arts, more like electronic farts, and then
Yeah.
you fall to the ground.
And then that
Justin's
part come
also
up.
in. The thing is, like when you walk in through the door, we had to like the camera pans in a little bit so you can't see it, but Justin is just standing there.
Yeah.
like right
I
in the
had to
side.
like at the end, and I had to hide the other take.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
all you see is this one part, but like there's like people standing all around. And then when I picked up this hand, I wanted to ask you guys about this, if you added this or this actually happened. When I pick up the severed hand and I throw it on the screen, there's like a flicker,
Oh no,
like-
you
broke
almost
the
broke
screen.
the screen. Yeah, that's what it was. I saw that when I was
Yeah.
editing. Like
That was
I was
cool,
going
though.
through it and I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, like that screen almost broke several
Wow.
times. Like
I
it,
really-
it hits and the whole screen goes white for a second.
Yeah.
So that would have been great if we got through
Wow.
that whole take and then the screen just breaks in the middle because
Oh
what
my
are we gonna
God.
do then?
If it was the last take, I mean, that I love that though. When I saw that, I was like, wait, a minute,
Yeah.
is that something you did or was that just
No,
there?
that was just from
cool.
the screen getting smacked by a rubber arm or whatever.
Wow. So then I get up. And the projector is the next. So while
Oh
this is
yeah.
happening,
So when James says the word acceptable, then I hit play. I hit the back button a bunch of times, and I'm in the other side of the room, like on the other side of the wall, in most goblin costume, just with my head out, and then I hit the thing, and I stand there and hope everything went good because I can't
Yeah.
see the projector from where I am. I have to just assume it worked.
yeah.
Because-
And what sucked, we're always trying to avoid having like the information on the screen where it says like play. Like whenever you hit play on like a DVD or whatever, it's like you see all that stuff on the screen. We didn't want that, so that was another thing we had to. Luckily, with that you found like a setting on it where we were able to turn that off.
Yeah, we just had the projector going the entire time, and he
Yeah.
just hit back all the way until it went to the
Yeah.
first title.
And the projector is underneath the TV. So I
Yeah.
built this little like rectangle-shaped platform. So the TV is sitting above the projector, just enough so it can ventilate. So the projector wouldn't overheat or anything. But you can vaguely see a little bit of light shining out from underneath the TV. That's actually the projector, which is putting it up on the wall behind me.
We had like 5 backup projectors too, just in case like one broke. Like we
bulb
had
or
so
not,
many
yeah.
backups of everything. in
Yeah,
this thing.
except for a top loader. We had everything.
Yeah,
else.
except for the one.
Yeah. So then I think that we're pretty much up to the last part, just about. We get to that projector screen, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But I had a spotlight, so I stand in the light, and then I was going for more like a avant-garde type thing, where after I'm in the light, I go close to the screen, and my idea was that the projector, the image would all be on my face. I would just be bathed in the game. But unfortunately, that game has so
It's
many
so
black.
dark, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many black areas where nothing was projecting. And while I was doing it and trying to say the lines, I'm trying to find the light. 5 minutes? Oh, what time is it?
Yeah, it's like 45. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's speed it
Oh,
up.
we're almost there then. Okay, so this is the immortal panel, and then we'll have some questions. Yeah. So, yeah, that's all right. Yeah. And we'll probably use this for like a behind-the-scenes video.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, because
So-
we shot all the areas with GoPros, so you're gonna see it seamless, like
Yeah, we're gonna play that too. That'll be, I think, a different video. You'll just see the
Yeah.
whole thing
ear-
raw.
probably
like,
in
with
early
the-
November. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the different cameras synced up. Either they are just for behind the scenes cameras because we only use one camera in the video, but the rest were just for like archival. So then I go to the last part, the green screen, the dragon, and you could talk about this, like how. I filmed the dragon puppet and then sent it to
Yeah.
Kieran, and then he had to like rotoscope out the
Yeah.
rest.
So when James walks from the projector screen to there's like rocks that are made of paper bags or something, crumpled up paper bags. Behind it is like a regular wall, chairs, all these things and everything. And Jay's like, okay, I just need you to get all that out of there. So I was like, oh, okay, great. So I had to, frame by frame, draw over everything and erase everything that wasn't supposed to be seen for, a good maybe 15 seconds of footage, which times 30 frames is, what is that, 15 times 30? Yeah, what is that? However many frames that is, because, that's how many times I had to draw a new group of lines. Like pretty much what you do is you draw like points over everything, and then you move them into place. So you can kind of like keyframe it, but it wasn't enough to like where it did it. But then when James gets to a certain point, the green screen kicks in, so the keying takes place, which meant most of anything that reflected green, James's shirt was like all covered in like green from the reflection, so most of his shirt got keyed off. So then I had to draw a shape of the same color of James's shirt, put it on a layer underneath it, and then animate it to James's body as he walked out, so it would look like his shirt didn't like disappear.
And you gotta remember, like, rotoscoping and green screen's easy when the camera's not.
Yeah, when the camera's not moving, it's fine. Like, I can green screen anything super quick. Like, at the end, when the dragon comes in, that's just green screen. There's nothing, anything of that. But it's the walking in between. So I had to draw a line around all the rocks, around James. Then I had to draw a line over James's hand and all of his fingers because his arm came out and I didn't have enough points from the one, so I had to put another layer underneath it that was just James's arm that I animated into place. Then I got rid of the rocks and just moved them out because I was like, I'm not doing this anymore on these anymore, get out of here. Then drew the line around James. So it's one seamless, it never cuts, it goes through, but I had to draw over every single frame to make sure that you guys didn't see the stack of chairs and all these crap like spotlights that weren't supposed to be in the shot. It took, I was up until about like 4:30 a.m. the day before we put that.
Yeah.
I was doing that.
And I was
And
probably
then-
like texting you, freaking out.
Yeah,
and
like
everything.
James, like I just want to know, like, you know, is everything? And I'm like, James, it's gonna be good. Trust me, dude. But I'm going to bed, which was going to bed
awful.
means sleeping in the couch next to my office.
Yeah, I think we were both up for 24 hours on that one.
Yeah, so we did that, and then I was actually really happy with it. I was like,
Yeah, me too,
when I was like done, I was like, man, this, you
Yeah.
know, holy shit, this
Yeah.
worked. And the
Like-
dragon looks awesome.
Oh,
I thought,
cool.
like, I just love the way the light hit it the right way and everything.
Oh, cool.
Wait,
Awesome.
has anyone not seen the episode, The Immortal? Okay, so that's a problem for this entire panel.
Yeah,
That's okay.
sorry.
But now,
So you should watch that.
now you're gonna want to
Yeah,
see it.
after.
Yeah.
So you'll know the
Well,
process.
the part where James like the light and then the light goes on, that's me turning
Yeah,
the green screen on.
I had to cut that out
So
too.
he
but
has the last part too, because then you were holding the light, and that was going to help with the dragon
Yeah, so,
light.
so I'm the dragon breath. So I'm holding a red light. So which is like this big. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
At
hitting
least
you.
I hope
and-
it helped a little,
Yeah.
but I don't
No,
know.
yeah, honestly, I
For the
mean,
effect, yeah.
that's pretty much, I do all that, like, I do animation stuff, so that was like fine. I like doing it. It's just time consuming. And to make it look right, because, you know, you're gonna get somebody like, oh, it looks like the rocks, like somebody didn't rotoscope around those rocks good enough. And it's like, no, like, don't even give me that. But
So I know that this is a different kind of nerd episode. This is a one-time experiment type of thing. I really loved it. But the bottom line, this whole story, is that to do a one-take thing like this with all these little components in it is a lot of work. And if anybody thinks that doing one take is less work than a regular episode,
It was
they're
harder.
totally wrong.
Yeah.
Doing one continuous shot like this was much harder than a regular nerd episode.
like Chex Quest.
yeah, Chex Quest
Jurassic
was
Park, a little harder.
Yeah.
This was harder, like probably one of the hardest ones we've done.
This was,
Yeah.
in my opinion, when we did, the hardest one I think I worked on before this was Pepsi Man, but that was because we, you know, had the guy, we had our friend in the suit, we had all these like different ideas and stuff about it, and it was a long script too. But
Yeah.
this one, this was the hardest thing I've ever worked on probably in my entire life. Honestly, like I don't think I've ever done anything that was more involved in this, and like each of us had a part that we all had to play, and we had to have it down.
Yeah, it was like a play. It was like
Yeah, but when we got it done, we were like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
like we did it. Like
absolutely.
we were like really like,
Yeah.
we were just, and then we all went and slept.
Yeah. And I guess
Cool.
just one more thing.
Yep.
The game on the top, it says Will Harvey presents. Will Harvey created that game. I emailed him because now he does like fireworks stuff in California. He's into like tech stuff. He's like a CEO. And I'm like, hey, we're doing this Immortal episode. Maybe you want to be a wizard at the end or help out. He's like, oh, maybe. Let me know. So I kind of forgot about that. We just did it. And I sent it to him to see what he would think. Whatever. He didn't get back to me on that one.
Oh.
Didn't get, not yet. If you know
Okay.
Will Harvey, tell him to hit us up. I guess.
Yeah, Tom, I think that's a great. I think the original is probably a really great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the NES port had some issues, but this is all for fun. You know, this is like, you know, none of this is meant to be taken too seriously.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm really sorry if we went over time with this. Are we able to do any questions that we got?
I think
No,
tomorrow.
sorry about
sorry
that.
if you had questions.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's panel will be the Q&A panel.
Yeah, we'll do more Q&A. We'll do like at least, we might do like half Q&A tomorrow.
And
part of
honestly,
that.
we'll probably be at the booth a lot. Right after this, we're going to the autograph area, I believe, and then we'll do a, you can ask questions there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.